Ooh, today I want to talk about reconditioning. And not just any old reconditioning, but our childhood reconditioning, which can be a heavy subject. So don't run away yet. Bear with me. Hang out for a second. Get comfortable and lean in. Because I want to explore these concepts so that you don't have to run away, so that we can face them together. Nothing too heavy. Good morning. My name is Keelan Siobhan Clark. I'm the owner of Liberty Empowerment. I'm the creator of the Pop Video Academy. My mission is to liberate and empower humans all over the world through creativity and allowing them to step into their own abundance, which is you and me. Abundance is everywhere. But in order to get to abundance, we actually get to recondition childhood trauma that we all have. I want to repeat that. We get to recondition childhood trauma that we all have. Good morning. So good to see you here. Thank you for being here. So, here's what I mean by that. I mean that even if you had the most amazing, glorious childhood, Pollyanna, shit goes down when we're kids. And it's by design. As far as I can tell, it's by design. Some of us have harder childhoods than others. It doesn't take away from whatever conditioning happens to us. Now, the conditioning actually serves us really, really well as kids. But as we grow up and we step into our own power, it's almost like we forget there's an elastic effect that we can recondition this. We can remold what was imprinted upon us. And a lot of times the imprinting of whatever it was upon us was because our parents were imprinted with that. And as we go through time, as we've seen, time changes really fast. Etiquette changes fast. Technology changes really fast. Like if I'd had freaking Google when I was a kid, I wouldn't be even having this conversation about reconditioning, because one of the biggest pieces of feedback I would get from my family, friends, you ask too many questions, Keelan. Why do you ask so many questions? Why don't you stop and think about it? Or why don't you go look it up in a dictionary? And we had like really old dictionaries, but I think looking back now, it was really overwhelming to me because I'm dyslexic. I'm left-handed and I'm dyslexic. So it was just really overwhelming to like go, and I'm like, you have the answer. Why don't you just give it to me, Jeeves? If anyone remembers Jeeves, just give me the answer. Like, go look it up in a dictionary. That was one of them. You asked too many questions. But then my dad specifically would come back at me and say, well, who produced this record? Because we would listen to music a lot. I'm like, I'm 8. I have no freaking idea. Why? Like, I would. Good morning, hi, hello. I'm 8. Why would I know who produced this movie or this like some obscure? Well, Keelan, we talked about this like 3 years ago when I was 4. Okay, so so on one hand, it was like I asked too many questions. On the other hand, it was like I wasn't keeping up fast enough with like the quizzes that my dad would come up, these obscure, crazy quizzes. And then one that came up yesterday that was really, really interesting, was half-assing things. You do everything half-ass. Because what would happen is I would attempt to rush through things and I would just give up halfway through. And I don't know where that started, but I remember my dad specifically, calling me out on it and saying, you just half-ass everything. Like a little kid. So of course, by him telling me that, it would confirm that I do. And I made a little chaos in our house yesterday, and our shower doors are they're old, and just I was like, Derek, you fix this. And basically, I don't know if you guys have like houses of your own, but when you take one thing apart, like everything just crumbled in that moment with the shower doors. And I was like, well, let's just like, I was trying to half-ass it. I won't even tell you what I was suggesting, and he was like, what do you like? We're in it. Like, we're gonna fix this. And I was like, yeah, but. And then it came to me. I was like, oh, wow, yeah. And like, I wanted to half-ass it. Now, that doesn't mean that my idea wasn't creative or like problem-solving skills. And I get to reframe it because I had this moment of like a flashback of my dad, right? And I was like, okay, this is a new moment. I'm an adult now. I don't need to like be victim to that. story or scenario anymore. I don't half-ass things. I'm just creative about them and looking for other solutions that serve in the moment, right? So those are a couple of things that I really looked at. And then I was in a mastermind yesterday. I'm in an entrepreneur group, and we were talking about what keeps us from getting coaching. So I would be a very good coach if I didn't have coaches, right? And I really thought about it, and I was like, what keeps me from asking questions when I'm stuck? And I was stuck yesterday. I've been stuck for a couple of days on creating something, and I was like, embarrassment. I get really embarrassed that I don't know how the answers. I get really embarrassed that I just don't know. And you're probably watching this like, well, duh. Of course, you're not supposed to know all the answers, but I'm really hard on myself, and I bet you guys are too, right? In whatever it is, especially when it comes to showing up vulnerably and asking questions. Back to, you ask too many questions, Keelan, or why don't you know the answer to that already? Like, that childhood conditioning actually created my embarrassment, my fatigue, my just wanting to hide. So what do we do with this information? Well, the great thing is that when we create awareness around these old systematic things that are no longer serving us, we actually have the ability to start shifting them. And it's taken me years of actually showing up, taking chances and risks, being vulnerable, taking a risk that my husband-elect would say, like, "You're half-assing something." That hurt my heart, but it was like, "Well, I'm not gonna let this take me out." Like, whatever. And I didn't even, like, have energy on it after. Like, instead, I actually, "Oh, yeah, that's a good one." I just got a comment. I keep feeling, "At my age, I should know the answers." Oh, yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing is, like, all the answers we need are inside of us, and it takes community and support to evoke those answers, to really explore them. So it's okay. And for me, like, I freaking have the answers, but I forget. Like, I have, like, Swiss cheese memory. I just forget. Like, there's just so much content coming at us all the time. And, like, my ADHD, awesome dyslexia mind, it's like flowers and rainbows and, like, unicorns and Wiley and Darren and just you guys and punk rock. And, like, there's just all this stuff in my head. So, yeah, I was stuck on something for a couple of days. And then yesterday I got unstuck. And the way I got unstuck was that I went to my coaching call open-hearted. I got a lot of coaching yesterday, actually, because I was evoking it. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to get the coaching. So I had some really powerful calls where, the information came at me, and I was ready to be a sponge and just let it sink in. Just let it sink in, right? So for you guys, yeah, if you've got that, at my age, I should know. Ask a question and take the risk. Maybe someone might be a jackass and be like, you have so many questions, or maybe you should know at your age. But you know what? F that. That's their crap. That's their own stuff. So I invite you guys to take a risk today. Ask a question. Ask something that's on your heart. Just do something little that it creates awareness around the conditioning that no longer serves you, and something that will actually serve you moving forward. Just like I half-ass everything. That's not true. I'm a badass. Like, I do half-ass some things. Like, I'm really not much of a cleaner. And obviously home improvement is not Darren and I's forte. But we'll get it taken care of. We'll fix it. We'll figure it out. Because together we can figure it out. We both have our own talents. So I invite you guys to do that too. I'd love to have more comments below, what other questions or whatever kind of conditioning has come up for you. And with that said, I will see you guys tomorrow. I love you. Have a wonderful day. And yeah, user. Sorry, I can't see names on here. But I saw yesterday how much I resist asking and receiving the answers. Yes, that's such a good point. Before I go, I want to just land that is that it's not just about asking the question, because sometimes I'll ask the question and I know the answer and I don't want to freaking have that. I don't want that to be the answer because it's hard and it's new and it's scary and it's ugly and I don't like it. Right? So when we surrender, ask the question, and just become that sponge to allow ourselves to receive the answer, and then take committed action, game over. Off you go. Rocket fuel. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. All right, gang. I will see you tomorrow. I can't wait to see your comments below. Mwah, 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 mwah. You're amazing. Remember that.